What's up? What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Supreme Car Guy coming at you with another good video. Well, interesting topic. And this topic is about how car culture is changing. Now, I know I made a video in the past about what, us older enthusiasts are missing from the golden era, but in this video, I'm going to get more into how things are changing in the car culture and like what changed it. And I'm gonna get a little bit into more detail with some of these key areas that I'm gonna hit. Okay, and one of them is one of the first areas I'm gonna say change the car culture is the tuning tuning for power. And what I mean by that is, like I told my friend today, I said you could pretty much download 150 to 200 horsepower on some of these cars. Back in the day, if you put intake, exhaust, and whatever on your car, you were lucky to get 20 horsepower or 35 horsepower, 30 horsepower. You were lucky to get that with intake, exhaust, headers, intake, manifold, throttle. But you were lucky to get 30 horsepower or 25 horsepower with all those mods included. Now you have these turbo cars, where these turbo BMWs, B58s, S55s, you name it, where you could throw a down pipe, mid pipe, exhaust, intake, a tune, some whatever tune, uh mh mh I mean D or whatever, and you could flash and get about 200, 150, 200 horsepower. Like, I'm just, for the sake of numbers, I'm just saying that was impossible then. That's one thing that changed the car culture, the car enthusiast culture, is you could download power. Like, you could just get horsepower out of nowhere. You don't really even got to work for it anymore. That's one. Another thing is, there's a lot more parking lot meets now than we had back then. Like I said, we had car shows in arenas. It was mostly in arenas or at some sort of venue like that. Now it's all about, you still have those shows around. I'm starting to see more pop up in New Jersey, um, places like that. Um, you still have those kind of shows, but there back then there were more of it. Now it's more of a parking lot meet, cars and coffee. It's a whole lot more cars and coffees than it was back then in the early 2000s and in the late 90s, or what you may have it. So that's another thing that changed the car culture. It's a lot more meetups, a lot more cars and coffees, events, etc. Um, Another thing is, people are more into the way the cars sound than how much power it makes, when you know what I mean. So let me give you an example. You got guys with these BMWs and GTRs or whatever how you call it. They'll spend a boatload of money on the exhaust for sound, and not they won't even throw the question, how much more power am I going to get with putting this on? That's the crazy thing. Back then, sound was important, but what power number we can get was way more important than just spending X, Y, and Z dollars on the exhaust because you want your car just to sound. We more focused on what kind of power we were going to get if we were going to waste all this money on something. That's another thing, that definitely changed. Is more sound focused. Another thing that changed is exhaust costs a lot of money. Exhaust costs a lot of money, bro. I'm gonna just say parts in general, but a $2,000-3,000 exhaust for like regular, like back then, it did not make sense to spend that kind of money, because pretty much a lot of the cars, whatever, they sound the same. Like, for example, GTR, it's gonna sound the same as the next GTR, HKS exhaust or Army Tricks. It's gonna sound the same. It's not gonna sound much different. It's the engine that makes the sound. It's not really just the exhaust note per se. Now, it varies from material. Now, a titanium exhaust is going to sound different. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's louder, but it's the material. The material, if it's cheaper material, yeah, it's gonna sound like shit. Like, let's just call a spade a freaking spade. But if it's the high quality material can give it a little better sound, bigger diameter and piping, can give it a little different note. But overall, the cars is not going to really change the sound. If you got five Civic Si FA5s and you throw a skunk 2 exhaust, a K tuned or whatever, and of very similar quality and material, it's not going to really change the sound much unless you throw a titanium exhaust on one. Then then you scaled up a bit, it's going to sound a little different. Or unless you throw a 3-inch exhaust, yeah, it's going to be a bit louder, or what you may have it. But yeah, people more focused on the sound exhaust notes. I meant to say the exhaust prices. Carbon fiber is extremely expensive. That's another thing that changed in the car game now versus then. Carbon fiber, good carbon fiber ran you a few hundred. Now, oh my God, you hoods on FA5s a G and up, bro. Like it, yeah. The prices of carbon fiber, and it is extremely high nowadays versus back then. And then now that what changed in the car culture is you see more people put in more carbon fiber stuff, and they're making more carbon fiber products now than they did then. So you're starting to see a push where people are putting more carbon fiber parts on their cars than they did then. And you're starting to see more cars with it, like carbon fiber side skirts, carbon fiber front lips, carbon fiber rear diffusers. It was not common to see somebody with carbon fiber rear diffusers and carbon fiber side skirts then. You in the early to mid 2000s, even earlier, you might have caught a lip, a carbon fiber front lip. You caught one of those. But if somebody had a carbon fiber rear diffuser, they were doing it different, bro. Because them joints is expensive, like, especially if they pulled up with a Honda with that, they were on another level, bro. Especially if the build quality of that Honda was good and they had carbon fiber diffuser, carbon fiber hood, if they had carbon fiber side skirts, you would have been like, yo, dude is on another level. He's not the average, he's not your average Honda guy. He pulling up with all that carbon fiber, bro. So yeah, it's a lot more carbon fiber parts. People are focusing on more carbon fiber aero and things like that nowadays versus then. But it is more expensive, and for some cars, more expensive now than it was then too. Because like I said, $500 on a Honda got you a pretty damn good carbon fiber hood back in the early 2000s. Now, shit, 900 to get you a decent hood and up for Hondas, you know. So that also changed it. Then the social media aspect of it changed things a lot too. And I touched on this in the early video, but I'm going to touch on it again. See, back then we had to read super streets and import tuners and all that to get our knowledge. We actually had to go out. We see a performance shop. We didn't know these mother effers from Adam. We rolled up in there. We rolled up in the shop and just to ask questions and whatever, bro. Like, that's how we were getting knowledge, getting to know people, going to car shows. You had to do that back then. Now you could just go on YouTube and find what you want to know about a car. You got AI, Chat GPT. You could put in Chat GPT or whatever you want to know about a car. It's gonna pop up. You can learn anything about any car, any mod nowadays on the internet versus then. The internet stuff started coming. It was chugging along a little later, but what you got to understand was a lot of times you had to be engaged in that world to learn, to get the knowledge. You had to stop in these shops and ask questions. If you saw a performance shop on Route 46, 17, wherever, especially if you ain't never seen it before and you saw some hooked up joints parked out there, you either stopped on the shoulder and backed up, or you went and did a you went through a U-turn joint and came back around and you stopped in that shop and introduced yourself. And we us serious dudes that were in the game, that's what we did. And that's how we got to know people. That's how we got knowledge. And you bought magazines. You had to. You had to spend that money to buy those magazines back then. Whether you wanted to or not, that's one of the other ways you stayed in tune with the culture. But now you don't have to do that. So that's another thing that changed the import scene is the internet and the social media. That definitely changed it a lot. It definitely changed it a lot. Because even you got guys like me who could come on and spread some knowledge, spread some love. Like that was not something you was able to do back then like that. You really had to have a big name, like, you know what I mean? You really did but the good thing about the social media is there's a lot of us who have knowledge that a lot of these new guys coming in or new kids coming in don't have, that we can share with them, so they could understand what they're looking at, not their where it came from. Because a lot of people in this game that's coming in new, they're doing it, but they don't understand where it came from. What led up to what you see now. Because yeah, they're graduating college, and they're getting these decent jobs, paying them, starting them 70, 80,000, 90, 100 plus. So they're able to start off with more higher end cars than we did then. Okay, if that makes sense. So they see it on the internet. Oh, G80 M3 is cool. I make 100,000 at my new job. I might as well get a G80 because I see it on YouTube and whatever. So yeah, they're buying a G80, they're slapping a bunch of parts on it and shit, but they don't understand what led up to what's the history behind that car. They don't understand what's the history behind those mods. What's the history behind all this street racing stuff you see on YouTube? Who were the people doing it before them? How it started, you know? So that's the good thing about the social media, is that you got guys like me or who was doing it much bigger than me, cuz I was okay in it, but I was around some real heavy hitters in the game. I really was. And I did learn a lot, and I elevated. And they elevated me. So shout out to them, but that's the good thing about the social media spaces. It gives a platform for even us guys who are from the old school, who could teach these young ones like where this stuff all came from, and we could teach them not to make some of the same dumbass mistakes we made, far as modding cars, getting tickets, street racing. And y'all know I'm against street racing. I do not condone street racing in no way, shape, or form. Well, you could do a pull on the highway here and there, but far as street drag racing and all that, I do not condone none of that stuff, bro, because I'm gonna tell you right now, when you get caught up, you gonna get caught up, bro, and it's gonna cost you a lot of money to get out, whether you wrecking a car, whether your ass get locked up for whatever. Don't do it. So that's another thing. And what also changed the car game, the car enthusiast game now, is everybody want 1,000 horsepower. And I touched on this in earlier videos. Everybody wants 1,000 horsepower. They think they're not fast unless they have 1,000 horsepower. But I got news for people that's saying these things. Yo, 500 and 600 horsepower is pretty fast. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know, you don't need 1,000 horsepower to be fast. I'm gonna be honest. And if you want to be super fast, keep it on a track. If you're not on a track, it's no need to be putting all those mods in your car anyway. And that's another thing. Like, people nowadays, these kids coming in nowadays, they just want to put all these mods in their car because they see somebody on YouTube do it. And that's silly because you doing it for nothing. Why would you want to just ride around the street with 20, 30,000 dollars in mods in your car because you see some dude on YouTube doing it? You should be on the track. If you're going to spend that kind of money, you might as well do something with it. Do what it's meant for. I don't condone street racing, but get on the track. Try to get a sponsor or something. And that's the thing. You don't need 1,000 horsepower, bro. That's a big number. Like, these kids don't understand how big that number is because they hear so many content creators. Oh, I got 1,000 horsepower Supra. Oh, I got a 1,200 horsepower Supra doing little prank videos, whatever. Oh, I got a 1,000 horsepower GTR. Dog, it's not common, and you don't need that much power to make no statement in the car world. You just need to, when you build in your car, you just want everything to flow. You want everything to flow. That's really all you really need. Your power level decent, whatever. Your wheels, whatever aero you doing, spoiler, your spoiler, side skirts, lips, diffusers, interior. I love doing interior. I gotta have racing seats in whatever car I'm building. I gotta have racing seats. That's just what it is. Unless the M3, the M3s, I love the M3 factory seats. I think the M3s are the only cars where I love their factory seats. So I wouldn't necessarily put racing seats in the M3, even the E46. I would not. But that's another thing. These guys, they just don't. A lot of them don't even know how to build a car and inside out and let it flow. They want 1,000 horsepower. They want to try to just get the hottest rims they see a content creator with. You don't need the hottest wheels you see a content creator with. If you know how to match the wheels right with the car, with the body, with the paint, and how to make everything fit flush, how to make the panels all flush with the wheel, you don't need, you could buy some all right wheels and it'll look like you could make your wheels look like they cost a few G's. Trust me when I tell you. you know a lot of these guys, these new guys, they don't know how to put a car together. They don't have no type of originality, imagination. A lot of them don't have that. They go off of just what the most popular content creators are doing, and they go with it. You gotta have some type of originality, some type of imagination in this game. And a lot of these new guys don't have it. Us from the old school, we had to have it. We didn't want to always look like the next person. We ain't always want to have the exhaust or headers the next person had. We didn't want that. We wanted, somebody got a turbo kit, T3, T4 in the Honda world. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But we always wanted to scale up from them. We did not want they same full race setup from T. We might get a full race set, but we're gonna change a couple of things so we not exactly the same. That was the difference then and now. We had similar setups, but we always wanted to change something that'll differentiate us. Even though our setups could be very similar, we changing something that you can't say, oh, you got the same exact shit as I do. Like, you know, nowadays these guys don't mind having that, which is not good. You gotta have imagination. You gotta know themes. You gotta know how to put the car together to flow like whether it's a JDM, a Wild Mile, whatever. We had that. We had to have that back then. Now it seemed like it's just 1,000 horsepower and get the same rims this guy got because he got 1,000,000 subscribers or whatever. That's another thing that changes. But other than that, that's my take on how the car culture changed from then till now and what changed it. And there's more, but that's what I could think off the head. I mean, now if I was in a cipher with a few cats, I could go in for a long time because there's much more. But that's my take on it. Anyway, like the video, subscribe to my channel. It's Supreme Car Guy, and I am out.